Yo, what is up everybody, it's Jay the Great here and welcome back to another reaction video here today. And today we have a Dragon Ball related video by the Great 6, and as you can tell the title, this is Why Goku Couldn't Be Replaced, Dragon Ball Z. So folks, that actually is a very interesting aspect of Dragon Ball to try and figure out. From my understanding, the rumor at least is that Toriyama decided not to pass the torch to Gohan because of the disgruntled fans. Right, when they started to catch on to the fact that he was planning to pass the torch to Gohan. And because of that, he just said, you know what, I'm going to stick with Goku. It seems people really revere this character, so I'm going to continue and have him be the main protagonist, right? And I think it was the right choice. I believe that Gohan is a good character, but Goku is a great protagonist, and I'm very, very happy with the product, just like the majority of the fandom is, right? The product that is Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. But however, I'm very intrigued to see what Six has to say about this. I'm sure he did his research, and maybe he'll give the exact reason why Toriyama did what he did. Either way, I'm very intrigued for it. But before we begin, and let's really appreciate it, hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay updated with yours truly. And if you enjoy, man, you mess with the kid, make sure to hit that sub button, because once you do, you become part of the family forever. But let's not waste any more time, screen. Let's see what Six says about this one.
After the Cell arc concluded, Goku was dead and we saw Trunks wipe the last remnants of Cell from the face of the story and bring peace to his future. The stage seems set to have Gohan be the main character for the rest of the story, but somewhere down the line Toriyama changed his mind and that spot went back to Goku. The part I want to focus on in that last sentence is the fact that he changed his mind, meaning that within the context of the original story of Dragon Ball, Gohan was the main character for some period of time. It's unknown what exact factors went into why Toriyama changed the main character back to Goku from Gohan, and it's also fairly unclear when he did that as well. The range is pretty big here. You have from until the time after Great Saiyaman is introduced, until the Super Buu area to work with, and there's a few big points in the story in between that can make either one of these guys the main character. It's also not helpful to this discussion that within the context of the story, both of the guys who might be the main character were always a part of the main cast anyway. But I'll go through each of these points in the story and obviously give my breakdown on when I think this shift happened. I also want to say this either speaks to Toriyama's writing ability that he can do the transition between main characters so seamlessly it has to be discussed, or it puts his quality heavily into discussion for not making the main character obvious enough in his story. Well, that's a little aside from the point, because even though it might not be too clear, we did eventually just get the feeling that the story had gone back into Goku's hands. I want to figure out why Gohan couldn't be the main character. I think I've rambled on long enough in this intro. This is my second or third Dragon Ball focused video, and I'm obviously planning to do a lot more. So if you like videos like these, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss out on those videos. Now, why can't Gohan be the main character? Well, Toriyama was asked this exact question, and his response was, I intended to put Gohan into the leading role. It didn't work out. I felt that compared to Goku, he was ultimately not suited for the part. This answer is kind of vague and doesn't really help us out, but it does give us something to go off of. For one, we can say Toriyama is telling the truth here about his intentions to put Gohan in the lead role, because on the cover page of Dragon Ball chapter 421, which is the first chapter after Trunks' defeat of Cell, Master Roshi appears saying Dragon Ball isn't over yet. Sure, Goku is gone, but that kid of his will take his place. The last parts of the sentence are the parts that help us the most though, because Toriyama says compared to Goku, Gohan was not suited for the part. This means we should just simply be able to compare the two of them and figure out why Gohan wasn't a fit. I can already hear the narrative analysis guys in the comments saying that, well, the story is just what the author makes it. If he wanted to, he could just have Gohan possess the qualities of Goku he was looking for. And yeah, well, that's true. The character would no longer be Gohan. It'd be Goku wearing a Gohan face mask. Not to mention, it's a complete insult to the reader, because whether we like it or not, Gohan's character following the Cell arc is pretty consistent with what we'd expect him to do. Dragon Ball's manga is a pretty fast-paced story by nature. Toriyama will throw in massive time jumps to prevent too much downtime from going on in the manga. So we don't get to see too much of what Gohan does. We don't get to see it too often. But there are two times when between arcs we get to see two different sides of Gohan's character that are important for this type of analysis. After the Saiyan invasion and after the 1 year time skip where Goku was on planet Yardrat. After the Saiyan invasion, Gohan tells Chi-Chi that he'd like to go to Namek so he can revive Piccolo and the others who died protecting Earth from the Saiyans. Then, after the 1-year time skip, we just see him in front of a book, clearly meant to indicate that he's been studying. So what's the difference between these two scenarios? Why does Gohan act so differently between these two different times of peace? That's because after the Saiyan arc, the job isn't finished. There's still something that needs to be done. Gohan needs to help his friends and bring them back to life. After the Frieza arc, he's pretty much just waiting for Goku to get home, so there's no reason for him to train or do anything like that. He's free to do his homework and study like he likes to. During the fight with Cell, Piccolo kinda has to break this down to Goku because Goku doesn't really understand Gohan as a person at this point, because after Gohan learned to fight, from Goku's perspective, that's all he's done. He fought against the Saiyans, practically begged to go to Namek, fought the Ginyu Force, fought Frieza, and he even trained with him and Piccolo in preparation for the androids after hearing Trunks say that Gohan was his master in the future and taught him how to fight. Piccolo tells Goku, that no matter how strong Gohan is, this just isn't him. So it makes sense that after his victory on Cell, that when Gohan doesn't have anyone to fight, he wouldn't be fighting. But wait, Gohan was given this opportunity in the Buu arc to fight when necessary, and when Toriyama did that, he followed it up with Majin Buu gaining the ability to absorb people and taking the moment away from Gohan. But why? The setup is perfect. Gohan is off getting stronger. He arrives just as the good guy saw it starting to look bleak in an orange gi and starts beating up the bad guy. Does that remind you of anyone? It's just Goku. It's not Gohan anymore, and I think this is why Toriyama decided to change it back to Goku. If you're just gonna have Goku-like traits in the story anyway, then why not just have it be Goku? Granted, he didn't have to do it the way he did,
give
but
it to
I think
Gohan,
this
right?
may be the reason. This is important for our next discussion, which is when did he actually make this switch? Because like I said, it's relatively unclear when that happened, and there was a few major points where it could have happened. One is when Goku was getting reintroduced into the story, which is when he talks to Gohan from the afterlife and tells him he's coming back to fight for a day. 2 is when he actually arrives on the tournament grounds for his day back. 3 is when the fight against Babidi starts, and 4 is when he returns to life after Elder Kai revives him. Now, we can use the process of elimination here. Obviously, if it can't be 4 and it can't be 2 and it can't be 1, then it had to be 3, right? You get what I mean. So let's take a look at them starting at the bottom with number 4. We're going to eliminate it right away because at this point, Goku is undeniably the main character again. What I am trying to figure out is if he got the stick back before this or if this was that moment. So let's start at the top, number 1, when Goku was reintroduced. I think that at this point it's kind of unlikely that Toriyama had already made up his mind to make Goku the main character again. For one, after this we barely see Goku until he arrives on the tournament grounds. Granted, this is a short space in the story only spanning about 4 chapters in between point 1 and 2 that I mentioned, but during those 4 chapters Toriyama chooses to focus on the Gohan side of things, and he develops his relationship with Videl, and a bit further has him training with Goten and giving him some development as well. All we see from Goku is him training with heavyweights, scaring off South Kaio, and if anything it seems like Toriyama wants to get Gohan back into fighting gear for this upcoming tournament. So I'm gonna say Gohan is still the main character at this point.
Seems that way.
Though it gets less clear. Number 2 is when Goku arrives on the tournament grounds. Goku definitely gets a lot of focus here, but to be fair, the guy just returned from the dead after 7 years and literally everyone missed him. Goku doesn't keep the focus for long though, since not too long after this, Goten and Trunks start getting their spotlight for breezing through the junior division and then having their own finale battle. After that, the focus is shifted to Shin and Kibito. After that, it's shifted to Videl, which brings us back to Gohan. Gohan is in full rage mode and he's getting a lot of panel time during Videl's beatdown and afterwards, which is cool because it's just Toriyama developing their relationship a bit more. Gohan is then focused on heavily again in his fight with Kibito as he's set up to be drained by Spopovich and Yamu for all of his energy. After this, there is Gohan and Videl getting a bit more development as he comes clean to her about everything, and she's fully made a Z-Fighter member at this point in my mind at least. This brings us to point 3, when the fight against Babidi actually starts. During the beginning stages of Babbidi's little spaceship tournament, the main character doesn't really matter because Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan are all going to fight alone anyway. Vegeta quickly mops up this dickhead, Goku beats Yakan rather interestingly, and Gohan struggles with Dabura and is unable to beat him. I still have to think Gohan is the main character at this point. His fight is the most impactful, and due to his slacking off and lack of power, throws the arc in a completely different direction that it wouldn't have had to go if he just took down Dabura. I know, Goku's taking down Yakan is stated to be when Vegeta said he'd let Babidi take over his mind, but that was only able to come to fruition because Gohan wasn't able to mop the floor with Dabura like he was supposed to. It gives everyone the feeling that Gohan is the reason this happened, especially as you're first reading through or watching through the story. So at this point, Gohan has been the focus, but not just the focus, he's being pointed out as inadequate and not enough, and it doesn't really get better from here. Vegeta gets his mind taken over, and then the story heavily shifts to focus on him and Goku's second battle, and Gohan is treated like the hero again for just another quick second. Before Goku fights Vegeta and Gohan departs to the next level of the ship, Goku tells him to remember to get mad because when he's mad he's unstoppable and blah 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 blah. It seems like the way the arc is going to go, Gohan finishes Dabura off, and even when I was a little kid, I found it extremely obvious that Majin Buu would come out of his shell at some point in time.
Yeah, I agree.
When that happens though, much like the rest of the cast, Gohan starts to become inadequate again, and he gets beaten so badly that he's out of the story for a while. But do you see how Gohan sort of takes a back seat here regardless of that? After Vegeta goes Majin, and like I said, the arc heavily shifts focus, everything gets left up to Goku basically. He almost takes the story by force, and he keeps his grasp on it for a pretty long time before it goes back to Gohan. Let me put this into perspective. Chapter 456 is when Vegeta has his mind taken over and Goku takes the story by force. It is not until 41 chapters later that Gohan shows up and starts fighting Super Buu. That is almost a year's worth of weekly releases.
Yeah, that's
During
substantial.
those 41 chapters, we got Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Majin Buu, the kids learning fusion, Buu wiping out the entire human race, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and all the while Gohan is being kept away training like a secret weapon. You kind of have this who will take down Buu question in your head when watching or reading, because while the kids are learning fusion, Gohan is training to use the Z sword, which basically was making him hyped up to be the chosen one. But we know how that turned out.
Yep.
After Gohan's secret training is over, he is different from Goku in one way, and that is the fact that he doesn't have to turn Super Saiyan to draw out his power anymore, and this change is shown in the way his eyes are drawn. Let me break this down for you really quickly. Goku, Gohan, and Goten all are drawn with these big round eyes when they're in their base forms. Even when they aren't that big and round, they still have these more rounded curves. But when turning Super Saiyan, they all get these more upside down trapezoid type of eyes. It's a clear change in their design. So then every time they are transformed, their eyes should look like this, right? Well, no, not exactly. There's an important detail I left out there. And that is, aside from the big roundy look, their eyes outside of Super Saiyan are always open. Not meaning they never sleep, but the space from their eye to nose bridge has no line defining where they stop at, sort of like Jotaro's hat, but not as confusing. But when they're in Super Saiyan, aside from the trapezoid eyes, they are always drawn with completed eyes. They show you where their eyes stop. Sorry for the lesson in Goku's family's facial structure, but that's needed very much so. Gohan no longer needs to transform, and that's apparent by the fact that he never loses these eyes again. In the manga, that is anyway. Even after 10 years of training, the ending chapters of Z Gohan still very much has these eyes. In the Resurrection
It's a good
of Manga,
observation.
he doesn't have them
Kishimoto's
anymore,
very
but that's when
deliberate
he's
with his
unable to use their
illustrations.
power anymore. Same goes for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which I'll touch on again in a bit when I start covering that movie in the last section of this video. Sorry for deviating from the original section of the video so much. I think I've made my point very clear though. Gohan doesn't take back the story from Goku for very long, and it's really easy to see why he couldn't be the main character. Dragon Ball sort of needs a fighter for its main character, or at least someone with a heavy sense of adventure. That's just to keep itself consistent.
Yeah,
and while Gohan can show up and fight from time to time, him doing so is very far and few between, and it's never what he wants to do. Toriyama even said in an interview recently that drawing Gohan's daily life made him realize that Gohan just likes studying more than fighting. Obviously though, it'd be completely criminal for me to end this video without talking about another time Gohan was the main character, which was very recently in Dragon Ball Super Superhero. When the movie initially released, I did a video on why I felt like it redeemed Gohan's character in the eyes of the fans, but then I unlisted it because I really didn't like the way that it turned out. I felt like it dragged in a lot of places and it was already too short as it is. I think Gohan is really good in this movie though, and I think the character he is, as I've outlined in this video, really fits the type of movie this is. It feels way more like this movie is centered around Gohan than Gohan got a movie, if you get what I mean.
Right.
Piccolo is the other main focus in this movie, and one of his primary goals is to get Gohan back into fighting shape, which is something everyone wants to see. I will say I don't like how often Super reverts Gohan back into his passive role of not doing anything, because it's just character repetition that doesn't need to be there. But the downgrade Super is compared to Z is for another video. I'm here to talk about Gohan. The fighting Gohan does in this movie is just awesome at every turn. When he gets mad about Pain being kidnapped, to fighting one of the Gammas, going back in Ultimate or Mystic form, showing he's back at his peak, then entering Beast to take out Cell Max, all of it is great. Gohan Beast's obvious inspiration is from the Super Saiyan 2 transformation in the Cell Saga, which back then served as our Gohan Beast. Gohan went Super Saiyan 2 on Cell, stopped holding back, and he just destroyed him and all of his children very easily, while also kind of acting like a beast, if you want to say so. Like wanting Cell to suffer and not killing him immediately, blah 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 blah. It's also pretty cool that Gohan in this movie got to finish Cell off rather than waiting around like he did when he was a kid. It really shows his growth as a fighter. But I think this would work a lot better if Cell never returned after self-destructing with Goku. I know this is a different Cell and all, but it still would have been nice to see Gohan just murk this Cell after gaining Beast, after he was unable to get the job done as a kid, but that's just what I thought should have happened. Obviously, Toriyama never had any plans for this movie back when he was writing the Cell arc, so I'm not going to count this against him, but yeah. In conclusion, I really think Gohan works in short bursts. I don't think he should be the main character of an entire series, or even an entire arc for that matter. When Gohan explodes, he steals the show, and explosions don't last forever, and that's how Gohan should be. All throughout Z up until the Majin Buu arc, Gohan was barely the focus for any super long extended period of time, and it was good that way, and that's mostly why DBS Superhero works so well. He's the focus character for not a long time, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it should stay. Obviously, if you like the video, leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel. But other than that, have a nice day.
Alright, so I definitely want to get my thoughts here on this one. I like the final premise that Six gave, and I agree. Gohan serves as a sort of main character relief, if you will, right? Serving as a main character for temporary periods of time, such as the new superhero movie where he was the main focus, along so with Piccolo. I do see that he serves as that, and that the way he was introduced established that fact, right? The way Kishimoto introduced him and tried to make him the main protagonist way back when, right? But then giving him humanity and giving him a lack of ferocity and instinctual, desire to conquer is what caused him to not be the best main character. To be the main character in a anime that is heavily battle based, you got to be an idealistic character. Someone like Goku, someone like Vegeta. These guys live to conquer. They live for battle. The ferocity is always within them, right? That's why Goku serves as the perfect character. He always wants to improve. That's his whole life. He is hyper obsessed with battle, right? Just like most pure Saiyans are, Vegeta as well. Hyper obsessed with improvement in battle, with evolution. Constant evolution is what all Saiyans want. Battle, all warrior Saiyans want at the end of the day. Gohan is someone, like I said, is someone of a main character relief. Right? You can see his humanity. He has a kid. He goes to work. He picks up his kid from school. Goku, conversely, is on a whole different planet, sparring with Vegeta to protect the universe from universal threats that could possibly be presented, right? And we've seen that in the manga. Moro, the individuals that Gas, Black Frieza. These guys are the individuals that Goku and Vegeta are chasing so that they can conquer. They always want to conquer, so they're always chasing as a result of that. Gohan isn't exactly like that, right? He's very powerful. He's a great character, but he doesn't have this hyper drive, this hyper obsession with battle. He doesn't have that. It's not in him, right? And clearly that's the case now with him being written for years and years. This is the character that we have come to know and revere, right? So simply put, Kishimoto became aware of that. He said, you know what? He doesn't serve as a main character. He's not that idealistic, ferocious Saiyan that Goku or Vegeta is. And that's why he's not the main character. But it's good to have that breath of fresh air sometimes with him, right? Such as the original Cell arc or the most current movie. It's good to have that breath of fresh air from him. To be reminded, oh, he has immense potential. He has the potential to be the strongest warrior in the universe. Which currently he is now with Gohan Beast under his tool belt. So I agree with 6 completely. The way Kishimoto wrote the character set him up as a main character relief. A temporary main character, if you will, at times in the narrative. Of course, we all wish, part of us wishes that Gohan got his big moment to shine, maybe an entire arc or so, right? Currently, but again, he's a main character relief. And he is to be respected regardless. He's a great character. He's just not the main character. But along with that, I think, is the fact that we revered Goku for decades. We revered him for decades. He's never let us down, right? That's the problem with Boruto, right? Going back to Boruto, it's hard to let go of Naruto and Sasuke. For over a decade, they were those guys. The guys that we revered, the guys that we appealed to, the guys that we grew to care about, right? Now, Boruto and Kawaki are taking that torch, right? The generational transition that's taking place. Toriyama didn't want that. Kishimoto does. Right? You see the difference in writing choices here. Naruto sealed away. Sasuke lost his Rinnegan. Boruto's the next in line, whether we like it or not. Right? Change is difficult. And Toriyama was aware of that. He was aware that change is very hard for a fandom to accept. That's why the all-time great animes such as Dragon Ball Z and Naruto will be hard to replicate or surpass. It's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. So, this was a great video by 6. He hit the nail right on the head. And to be honest, Gohan's just a main character relief now. No shade on Gohan. He's still a great character, but he's not the main character. Right? And that's the point. And I agree with 6. So, that's going to wrap it up, folks. That's my thoughts on the video. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Gohan should be the main character? Do you wish that Toriyama didn't change his mind? Whatever your thoughts may be, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. But it's going to wrap it up, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is Jay the Great signing out. Peace.